Alright, gonna go through a November garden tour before November is over. I just found a lizard. Hey there, little guy. What's up? Nothing? Alright, see you later. Alright, so first things first, the blackberries have been bouncing back since I've been rehomed over here. You can see that these canes are very green. Some of them are kind of sorry looking, but it's going into winter, so that's how it's going to be. And so shortly after moving the ginger into a big pot like that, I decided that was too much space for them. They do just fine in a shallow pot. So I moved them into this, and I am prepping this pot for raspberries. I want to have raspberries as well, in addition to the blackberries. And I gotta go over these guys that I am incredibly excited about. These are tea plants, and we made a special trip all the way up to Pasadena to Nuccio's nursery to get these, because you can't find them in too many locations. I want to grow my own tea, and so I got a couple different varieties or strains from them, just to be safe, because I don't want to get one and have it pass away on me like this one did. And I don't think this one's gonna come back, but it's hard to let go sometimes of a plant. And so these guys, they don't necessarily do too well in our climate here in Zone 10. But when we get hit by a heat wave or heavy rains, which we did recently, then I will just bring them inside. Because I would be so heartbroken if I lose these after getting them, after finding them finally. So I'm very excited about those. And in here, I have, this is a turmeric rhizome that I planted. And I don't know if it's going to sprout like the ginger did, but I have hopes. A lot of those apparently tend to be sprayed with a growth inhibitor so that they don't sprout on the shelf in the grocery store. So that could be a reason why it hasn't sprouted. So over here in the herb bed, not too much has changed. The parsley is starting to take over, same as the basil. Got some new growth on the sage. Chives are getting thicker. The lemongrass I actually gave a haircut because it was out of control. The lavender's kind of bouncing back after getting established. Tarragon hasn't changed too much. And then the thyme hasn't changed much. But it'll get there. So over here, got my potatoes coming up. And this is actually wheat that call it a volunteer when things just sprout on their own. They were wheat berries that were mixed in with the straw that I got, that I've put on all the beds. So it'll be fun to experiment with harvesting wheat when it's ready. Right here I got some of the beets that I sowed. That's going to be fun when they come up, because we can harvest the leaves in addition to the beets themselves. And right here we got the eggplant has started producing again. So this one's actually ready whenever we want to have it. And the other eggplant hasn't come up. I believe I put some in the seed starting trays, so I'm hoping those will be ready to plant out. The zucchinis died back, but that's just how it is. And over in the greens bed, so these guys turned out to be serrano peppers that I did not plant. And I think I mentioned in a previous video that I had hung a bird feeder from up here, which was a mistake because as soon as they land on it, they get scattered everywhere. And so I was finding random sprouts all over the pots and all over the beds in this area. And then when these came up, I thought it may have been one of the things that I had planted in here. So I didn't pull it out. And so it got all the way to this stage, and I started to feel like, is that a pepper plant? Because I never planted peppers. But yeah, it turns out they're serrano peppers. And so the reason that the pepper seeds are mixed in with the bird seed is to ward off squirrels. Because apparently birds are not sensitive to capsaicin the way mammals are. But when a squirrel eats it, they will not come back for the seed again. So that was very interesting to learn. And in the meantime, while I'm waiting for my seeds to sprout, I'm over there in my seed starter. I have put some tomato propagations in here just to use this space a little better, because right now there's not a lot of hole going on. We still got some of the same people in here. This is the kohlrabi, I believe. We still got the bright lights, and the kale is still getting nibbled on. Apparently it might be, the birds may be coming back for it, but apparently it may be lizards are also chewing on it too. And I can't be mad at the lizards because I like the lizards. And over here we finally got a lot of pole beans coming in. So that's really cool. And we got beans in a bunch of different spots around the garden, so we're going to have a lot of these suckers at some point here. Down here we got the onions, which are pretty much ready. We could just take them whenever, but they're just hanging out. And then over here, I have put together in their grow bag pots all 4 of the dragon fruit trellises that I built. So they are ready for the dragon fruit varieties whenever I can get them. Got 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I don't think I had these last time. I got more dragon fruit varieties from the Exotica nursery and got them planted in this one. This one's a Halley's Comet. This one is a Sin Espinus. The reason for that name is apparently it's spineless. And then this one was the Physical Graffiti. They all have, a lot of dragon fruits tend to have like rock names, which is pretty fun. And over here in Succulent Central and Cactus Corner, we have a few new additions. I got Red Nopal. Every time I say Nopal, I say it differently. Nopales, Nopal. That's the white person in me, sorry. And we have some ornamental varieties still. They're getting healthier. This guy was kind of sorry looking when I got him from the store, but he's looking much better. And I got these from a friend at work, and they're settling into their new home and getting healthier. I just gave the Black Bakar roses a little bit of a trim. We had some heavy winds here a couple weeks ago, like significant wind, and it got knocked over and damaged a bit. And then a week or two ago, we had heavy rain. And so what happens when the roses get wet is they rot very, very easily because the petals are thin, they can get soaked, and they just tend to rot very quickly when that happens. So you wouldn't want to say have it right next to a sprinkler or anything like that, or you wouldn't want to water overhead because the roses probably will not survive that. And then we have a couple new friends in the trees here. I got a new blood orange to join the lemons and lime. And we got some fruit here, which is awesome. And I finally repotted them a bit in the buckets that I got from work. And then the almond is still a little fledgling. And then the carob, still small as well. I got a couple new strawberry varieties, which are taking nicely to being potted here. This one was a Quinault. And let's see, what was this one? This one was Seascape. So now, altogether, we have 4 varieties of strawberries. And you can see my chair that I got here. They hang out in the garden. Very relaxing. All the strawberries. They're just kind of chilling right now in the off season. When we hit spring, I believe that they'll be producing again. And I experimented with planting some wheat in this bed, and some of them came up. So intentionally planting wheat versus where they just showed up in that other bed. And only one of them really came up. And I can show you the seedlings, what they're doing. Some of them I had on lower shelves, and so they stretched out and got a little lengthy, so these ones might not make it. It's part of the reason why I moved this from that side to this side, because it wasn't getting the appropriate amount of sun. So it's a little bit improved over here. And I've been thinking about getting some grow lights to have a setup inside. Because out here, while having this little greenhouse is an improved set of conditions, it's not perfect for starting seeds, but it's better than nothing. So we got all these little guys. And some of these are definitely gonna do well once I'm at the point of putting in the ground. Some of them maybe not. This daikon radish never sprouted, unfortunately, because I ordered these seeds like before COVID started here in the US, and they arrived like 2 months later. I think what happened was they were probably sitting in like a hot shipping container or something, and so the seeds just died while they were waiting to get sent to me once they made it to the States. So that's sad, but you know, everything in the garden is an experiment. Speaking of experiments, I have some store-bought seeds just to see how they would do. I went through our bulk department and got a bunch of different seeds. So I did fennel. I think anise is in there. I can't see what all of this is. What was this one? Come on. There we go. So that was poppy. Yeah, so I got poppy to sprout. And the sunflower sprouted, but then it died. But so I might do some more of that one. And you can see in the back there, that is a avocado pit that sprouted from a Hass avocado. So that'll be fun when it matures. So a lot of little experiments in here. And so right over here I have some more little guys. Let me just button this up real fast. One thing that was happening with this setup is I'm not sure if it was the mice or the birds that were going for it, but I was coming out here and finding that all these little sprouts had been chewed off, especially the sunflower. Oh, and early on I had an almond that I planted, and it was literally digging up the almond. So now that I'm saying it, that sounds more like a mouse. But either way, that's why I have this mesh here. And until recently, I've been hesitant to even have this unzipped because I wasn't sure if it was like a bird that was trying to get in here or whatever it was. But in the last few days, I've had this unzipped to have a more even climate, so this isn't getting hot boxed and just sweating while it's all zipped up. So anyway, over here I have some little tomato propagations that I just had set in water, and then they develop roots, and then I just put them in here once I've got those roots ready. So that's an easy way to clone tomatoes, and I did the same with this basil here. And so that brings me to this little spot with these little grow bags. I enjoy the rhyming and making up names for parts of the garden. So this is going to be Basil Boulevard with the different varieties of basil. And I've been thinking about what to call the spot for the mint, and I think we've settled on Mint Manor for the 8 varieties of mint. So we got Succulent Central, Cactus Corner, Basil Boulevard, Mint Manor, and I'll show you later. No, I'll show you now. So inside, I call it the propagation station. It's just a bunch of different things set up at the window. This is what I'm talking about. Just putting the cuttings in water. And you can see right there. Actually, there's one right up here. The roots are sprouting. And that's just a really easy way to clone, say, tomatoes, or basil worked as well. I'm trying it with shiso. This one hasn't made it yet, so I might have to try with a different cutting. And I'm also sprouting lots of little seeds in here. So the mice raided the chamomile, but left a few of the flowers, so I collected some of the seeds, and you can see that they are sprouting now. And I got a bunch of other little seed starts to add to the basil. This is the purple basil. You can see it's sprouting right there. And we have I'm experimenting with another Hass avocado pit. Sprouting this one inside. And here's some other little guys. So I got a bunch of little plant friends in the propagation station. And so out here, this bad boy is a compost tumbler. And this is going to be the second stage of our compost system. And so you can find compost tumblers online for very expensive and also relatively cheap. But a lot of them tend to have multiple parts. And when you read the reviews, not only do you have to build them, but some of them tend to fall apart and they just don't last the test of time. Because, when you're turning these things, that's the reason they fall apart, is because you're turning something that's got multiple parts. And so I've been looking for a way to achieve that, but not have to spend a bunch of money and not have something that's going to fall apart on me afterwards. So I found one method of doing this that is just drilling holes in a trash can, basically. But lots of plastic trash cans are flimsy and will themselves fall apart. So I found these big, really thick plastic containers. This one used to have olives in it. And it was like $40. So I just had to drill a bunch of holes in it to give it aeration. And I mean, this sucker's not going to fall apart. And right now I've got it upside down just to mix it. But it has a screw top on top of it. And so it's a really nice container. And it was just a little bit of a time investment to drill all these holes in it. And it's all one piece. It's not gonna break on me. And so the way it works is, the way a compost tumbler works is you turn them and all the material inside tumbles, obviously, and that aerates everything and helps it break down. And so this was a really good economical way of creating a compost tumbler that won't break on me. and it's going to last. Yeah. So that's our stage 2 for the compost. So over here, this is the potatoes. This one might need to be harvested soon, and I'll get to see how these did. I suspect that they haven't done that well, because it shouldn't be dying back. I think I may have overwatered this bucket. It possibly because of the rain, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, because we got some heavy rain, and I don't think this can handle that much moisture. So maybe this potato started rotting, and that's why it died back. I started incorporating more things for pollinators in the garden. These particular succulents will bloom in, I believe it's late winter. I can show you one over here that is getting ready to do so, and the bees just go nuts for it when it does. All these things right here are little buds that are getting ready. And then there's another type right here. These are called a chandelier plant. You can see, because it looks like a little chandelier. These ones are about to open up. They are red, if I remember correctly. And they have this tiger stripe pattern, which I always thought was really cool. And speaking of the rain, it had an effect on our tomatoes that causes them to split, because the tomato fills up with moisture faster than the skin around the tomato can grow. And so I picked some earlier, but we've got another one right here that's splitting a bit. And my Goliath snow pea died off, but I got some seeds from it, so I'm going to plant some more out. And some of the stuff I planted in here has sprouted. This is another type of pea. And we got another one coming up over here. And here's one of the beans that's decided it's just happy to go up and around the arch. So that'll be really cool if it keeps going. Got another one right here. Oh. You can hear a frog. I probably wouldn't be able to find it if I tried. Although I did find one inside the composter the other day when I opened it up. Had to evict it because I was about to turn the compost. Didn't want to crush it. So I am doing a little bit more experimenting with corn, but I found out that some of the reasons that they probably weren't doing too well is that they tend to have a deeper root system. And these beds were built with a hugelkultur, which is basically just a lot of plant debris like logs, and in my case is lots of branches, went into the base of this bed. And then I put soil over top of it, and that creates the base for the raised bed. And so early on, I think I may have gotten a little overzealous with the hugelkultur, and so it doesn't have much soil to work with, so its roots probably went down and found all that plant matter, and then it just couldn't get past it. So that's probably part of the reason that I have had little success with corn. The other reason is generally, apparently, you want to plant them in like blocks. So for me, the ones that did get tall didn't set much corn because they weren't able to pollinate one another because they weren't close enough to each other. So next time I try corn, I will plant them in blocks and give them more room for their roots to grow. This one, I believe, is one of the melons. So that'll be neat if it starts growing up this. And if it does, then I will have to provide support for the melons that are hanging in a similar way to the pumpkins, which we have yet to get. And I'm not sure that we will, but it's still fun to try. Oh, and I skipped over some of the other trees that I got. So this is a banana tree. It's a Sumatra cross, and it has these very pretty leaves. And right next to it I have a Pakistan mulberry. If you look up pictures of Pakistan mulberries, they are fruit. They look sort of like blackberries, but they're longer. And the Pakistan mulberry is the longest one. They're like the size of your finger. They look hilarious. So that'll be fun when this this little guy finally gets big. Right next to it, I have a Persian mulberry. And the way mulberries are propagated is basically from sticks from the tree. When I got this one, there were 2 in the pot. And when I repotted this, I just moved the other stick into this pot. And I don't know if it's gonna sprout. It may not. It's been a while, so at this point probably not. But it could still be just dormant, waiting to sprout. So I haven't gotten rid of it. And the avocados, they're struggling right now against some kind of like little mite or beetle or something that's attacking the leaves. I'm hesitant to spray them with like all sorts of chemicals or something, so I've just been cleaning off the insects as I find them. And I think they're bouncing back. And it is winter, of course, so a lot of stuff that's dying back, you can't worry about it too much because that's just the natural cycle of the season. So I think it'll be fine. And, I got the carnivorous plants here. I moved them over here so they could get a little bit more sun. And you can see that got some little ones sprouting next to the big ones. Little tiny one coming in right there. And down here in the pepper bed, there's a lot going on. Got a big yellow bell that's pretty much ready, just about. These Anaheims are ready. Still got a ton of jalapenos. We just had some with a tomato soup last night. They were really good. We had tomato soup with some tomatoes from the garden and grilled cheese, spicy grilled cheese with the jalapenos. We still have a glut of cayenne and serranos, and certainly now that we have serranos in that other bed, I'm going to have to start giving these away to people. And actually, these cayenne are drying up on the vine. They'll start dropping these seeds, and then we'll get more growing. These habaneros are getting huge. Look at that. And they're still green. They haven't even changed color yet. We do have a little ghost pepper. Little itty bitty ghost peppers. No Carolina Reapers at the moment, but we'll get them. I think it just doesn't like this season. And I finally planted out the other little potted peppers I had, so they'll grow into this space. So yeah, that's how the garden's doing right now. A lot of things are dying back, but it's also the season to start putting greens in the greens bed. So that's a lot of what I have in the seed starts. So yeah, I'll see you for next month's garden update.